All right, there we go. Let's get our Facebook folks in here and we can start this show. Not too late, not too bad. All right, 1 and 2. All right, welcome in. It is Tuesday evening, and it's time for an episode of Building the Broncos. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, on these Tuesday evening shows, Carl Dumler. Carl, how you doing out there? Are you frozen in? What's going on? We had it almost reached 60 degrees here in Seattle today. It felt like April, so warm weather is coming.
So I had to go help somebody today with a little project, and they asked if I wanted to ride home, and it was about 4 blocks away from my house. And I said, no, I can just run home. That was a mistake. It was negative 26 degrees wind chill. So, yeah, I think it was negative 10 degrees, negative 26 wind chill. It's supposed to get down to that again tonight, maybe even like negative 30, negative 40 wind chill. So it's been a fun time for all of us.
Buddy, you're old enough now. You got people to depend on you. Me, I depend on you. You got to make some smarter. Was it icy too, with it being that cold?
Oh yeah. We got probably, 5 inches of snow. I had icicles growing out of my beard. So I got home. The kids were laughing like, oh, there it is. Asking if they could pick them off. And I'm like, no. So yeah, it's been kind of a crazy day.
Yeah, I got to make smart decisions with a cold like that. If you fall, it could be game over. So don't do that again. Making me scared. Doesn't make me scared is Papa Bear coming in here with the super chat, getting us rolling here. We really do appreciate the support, David. Hope you're doing well. Hope that February is treating you well. Hope you had a good President's Day, Valentine's Day, all of the above. And he says, good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag let's go Bo. Let's go Bo. Let's go Broncos. Excited for the off season. Free agency right around the corner. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Some ESPN released a Matt Bowen, who's done work for ESPN and the NFL side of things for a number of years now. Former coach, I believe, as well. But he does good work, and he has a top 50 list and some players that he likes matching up to Denver. So that's exciting. I wrote about that today over on Mile High Huddle. You can check that out. And also we're going to talk about one of the legends, one of the few people. Carl, you just said before the show we talked, you got that puzzle behind you with a bunch of players of yesteryear. I mean, it's really hard not to miss Case Keenum there at the 12 o'clock position of that puzzle. You said none of those guys are Broncos anymore. We're going to talk about Von Miller, who I can see there's at like that 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock spot there. So we'll see. But we want to say hello to more and more people coming in here. Of course, we got David Youngkin says, for some reason, I don't believe anything ESPN has to say. I think this is not like reporting, David, so to speak. This is just fits that make sense and content. Really, it's, articles like mock drafts, right? I don't believe in mock draft. Well, they're going to get most of the picks wrong anyway, right? But it's more so just like talking about generating discussion of why it makes sense, and it really allows guys like us to, have these, sitting at the bar conversations, belly up. So I appreciate them for that and having content that we can talk about like that today. BK spoiling us. I hope we don't get Aaron Jones unless it's super cheap contract. We'll see. I'm the man says, go get Raheem Mostert. Interesting name there. Where did Mostert go to school? I want to say Purdue. I know he was a big guy, late round pick, classic Kyle Shanahan find there. But Mostert. He had some good times there with San Fran, and he's had a lot of injuries since then. But you can find some back slate. We'll see. I mean, think about Mostert. If you bring in somebody like that level, he's getting 1 year vet min, and he's as likely to not make the roster as he is to make it. I mean, you're talking about like just filling reps from somebody at that level, in my opinion.
Yeah, when he's 32, that's like in retirement years for like us regular folk, that'd be like somebody that's 80 still working. And I mean, still producing.
Yeah.
But you got to wonder how many more decent years they have left. And this last year he got hurt. The year before that, when he had all those touchdowns, he was thankfully on my fantasy team, helped me make a little bit of money. So I do appreciate him. And I get it. He's really good out of the backfield as a receiver. He's got a little bit of juice to him that you kind of like. But I just think his best days are behind him. I think there's some better options. Obviously, you got the draft that's really loaded this year. And I still think there's some free agents that I would put ahead of him. The nice thing with him, like you said, it's going to be cheap, real cheap. And one, it's not a guarantee he's making the roster. And I would have a hard time leaning that direction right now.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to bring in a running back. Maybe he's the one. We'll see. Who knows? We also got Viper coming in, says, give me Javon Holland and Jameen Sherwood. Sherwood plays for, Jets, kind of right. He's a linebacker safety hybrid. He's about like 210. So definitely a possibility if you're looking for a little bit of that, hybrid tweener body type. And Javon Holland, I mean, heck of a player coming off his worst year of his career to date. One thing, Javon Holland, heck of a player, only 24, 25 years old. I didn't really like how it felt like he was maybe one of the ringleaders in the anti-Vic Fangio in Miami movement and the hard coaching there. And I just kind of worried. I don't want to call him soft by any means. He's a football player. I'm sitting here in my basement, in a sweatshirt. So I'm in no position to call anybody soft. But there was some weird culture stuff, blue collar, hard lack of, that kind of mentality in Miami. And, he released a video after Vic Fangio was moving on of him kicking rocks. Like he's like, clever there, Javon. That's that Oregon education, I guess. I don't know. But I'm not against him by any means. I just kind of worry, is he the, hard-nosed kind of mentality that you want from some of those guys? It's just some of that Miami defense stuff with Vic Fangio rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, especially when they've worked hard to build this locker room to make it a group of players that love to play for each other, play for the coaches, love their coaches for the most part. To have a guy come in like that, it's kind of like there's a couple other players out there that people like Diggs for the wide receiver position. He's going to be a free agent. I really don't want him in Denver. Pretty much every team that's had him has said, we don't mind if he leaves. We feel like we'll be better without him, even though he's really talented, or he's been really talented in his career. There's a reason that teams just keep saying he's not good for the locker room. Mm-hmm. He's not really helping this team. If anything, he's kind of dragging them down because he's so individually focused. And I'm not saying Holland is individually focused. I'm just saying you have to look at the full body of everything. It's not just, can they play? Like every player that makes it to the NFL can play. Mm-hmm. That's never really been the question. It's, can they really help elevate your team? Can they fill that something that you don't have right now on the roster? And like I said, with Holland, I'm not 100% sure on that, especially when there's a lot of other safeties hitting the market. I think there's going to be quite a few guys cut that could also come back or come and be a helper to the team. So I think they've got some nice options. I'm not saying if Holland comes, I'm going to be upset about it because, like you said, he's a talented player.
Yep.
Sherwood, it would depend who else we have at linebacker. Like I said, he's pretty small. The Broncos are going to need to be replacing possibly 3 linebackers this offseason, depending what they do with Singleton. So I could see that being a possibility of, hey, this is our third down guy that comes in. He's got all that athleticism. He can fly all over the field. We can move him around and him not be a matchup nightmare or a matchup problem. So I could see that being a possibility. But if you're asking him to be a true 3-down linebacker for you, I think you're going to be in some trouble.
I mean, the game has gotten smaller on the defensive side, a lot of guys in the box, and Sherwood plays bigger than the 210. But again, I think there are some concerns, especially, let's say, Chiefs go heavier. You got Pete Carroll coming into the Raiders now and what Jim Harbaugh does. I mean, this is going to be a pound it into the dirt, eating bone dust division here. I know the AFC West are back in the Dan Fouts days and whatever, throwing it around the yard, but it's going to be a little bit more old school, 90s, early aughts football. Feels like coming down here for the AFC West. So again, I'm not against him. Young player. I haven't actually put in like too much time also to do it. Just like the profile in general makes me a little bit hesitant, but certainly a talented player. And I do like that he plays bigger than his size. We got some more super chats coming in that we do want to get to. But first, Sherwood, came in, smaller player. He's a little bit of an underdog, but maybe not. Yeah, we'll see what the payday is. But speaking of underdog, we got to get to our big read today. Underdog.
Yeah. Our great sponsors today, Underdog. This basketball season, when your favorite star scores a bucket, we're going to give you an alley-oop opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state. Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog.
To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, such as points, assists, rebounds, and more. Underdog's got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. Create entries with all your basketball picks or mix and match across other sports. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge.
Download the Underdog app and sign up now using the promo code MHuddle to unlock the special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with the promo code MHuddle. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, and 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncbgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. So moving it forward, not an underdog at all, but potentially an underdog for the Broncos, or not an underdog at all, actually, even before that. Gary Palmer, 719, coming in over on YouTube, says, "Hi, Nick and Carl. What's your must-have to get to the next level? Go Bo Broncos. Go Broncos. Go Bo Broncos." Yeah, indeed. Must-have. I always come back to, he released a mock draft today, too. Maybe we'll talk about that, too. But Daniel Jeremiah kind of talks about a team-building pillars that you must have as far as getting to that next level. So really, I think there are multiple must-haves that the Broncos are striving for this offseason. So what are these must-haves? It's quarterback for Broncos. I mean, to what extent, we'll see, but check. You have your guy for now, and on that rookie contract, I think it's good enough there. You need 3 quality offensive linemen. Denver's 3.5 for sure there. You need 3 weapons. Right now, Denver's probably 1, so you need 2 more weapons. You need 2 to 3 pass rushers. Denver, as far as plus pass rushers, you're probably at 1.5, 2, depending on where you're Benito. I want to see Benito do it again, but I think we'll just toss him in there for the sake of argument. And you need 2 to 3 back 7 difference makers. Right now, Denver's 1.5, maybe, depending on where you're with Jones. I want to see it again, just like Benito. I want to see it again with Moss. But really, that leaves it, your offensive line looks pretty good. Quarterback, good. You need some weapons. It's never a bad idea to add more defensive line talent. And you probably need another all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber back 7 player, whether it be safety, probably safety or linebacker. So next level, I guess you say offensive weapon still just because of the math on that. But if you could add a difference maker, future all-pro at any of those spots, is going to really help change that dynamic of this team going forward.
Yeah, I think especially the running back position, just because you bring in that threat of a running game, it really changes the numbers of how a defense tries to play you. So I know a lot of people keep looking at tight end and really wanting to hammer that for the Broncos. I still think running back should be above tight end at this time, especially with how Sean Payton loves to use the running back position. And maybe it's 2 running backs just because of, again, that usage. And then it kind of opens up everything else where Marvin Mims maybe has some more opportunities where, teams are having to load up the box and you're throwing a screen pass out to him where he's getting up down the field quickly. Cortland Sutton gets a little bit more one-on-one coverage instead of getting doubled most of the game. And then, if you can add another weapon, either wide receiver or tight end. I don't think it has to be a tight end. I mean, I know it'd be great to have that position look much better than it has, but having another good wide receiver changes the numbers just as much as a good tight end does too.
Yep. I don't think you can get too laser focused or narrow in that. I mean, Denver does want to be a heavy personnel team, so the pathway to playing time is easier, but there's less good tight ends that move the needle compared to wide receivers as well. So again, could go either way. And now, thank you, Gary, so much for the $9.99 super chat. That really means a lot. I know we had some Facebook issues to start, but Gary's one of the OGs. Always appreciate Gary. You're one of the good ones, buddy. Thank you so much. We got another one of the good ones here. Michael Ronquillo says, "Good evening, Nick and Carl. I'm building the Broncos. Go Bo Broncos." Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'm sure you have some nice weather out there in Tucson. And we got BK coming in, $5. Says, "Russ contract, not a cap charge after next season, right? Glad we have money this year." Denver's 16th in cap space, I believe, right now. But mean, your immediate cap space is a little bit overrated because anybody you sign, the contracts are going to, unless it's a 1-year deal, but the contracts are going to be lower cap hit up front. You know, you get your signing bonus, but there's also optional bonuses later on that kick in that can change the signing bonus as well. And Denver doesn't have too much bloated contracts on the books after the season. Now they did touch, I don't know if it was all 3 of the big contracts they signed in 2022, 2023. They added void years to Mike McGlinchey, Ben Powers for sure, maybe Allen. I can't remember. So those are some dead cap hits coming here. But Denver's 32, 11% of the cap. I've been on Spot Rack recently with Russell Wilson dead cap this season, but it's over after that. So you do have to deal with 11% less. Anybody Denver actually wants though this offseason, because they don't have a lot of long-term finances committed. They have cash over cap, the wealthiest owners in the NFL. Anybody they actually want, they'll be able to go get. It does sometimes behoove them to be frugal in some sense, though, as well, because you have Zach Allen. What's going to happen with Cortland Sutton? Just all the ability to add guys later. Other guys emerge. Nick Bonito. So it's not going to stop them at all. But good comment here from BK.
Yeah, I always think of Washington as the best example of a team that just spends funny money. They used to. It seemed like about every other year they were the top spender in free agency. And they were pretty much trying to buy a championship. But the problem is when you're paying big money for not great talent, and then they also didn't have quarterbacks, their wheels were just kind of spinning in the mud, and they were getting nowhere. And they just were not building the team in a great way. So you're right. Broncos can get aggressive. I wouldn't be surprised if they rework a few of their deals to get them a little bit more cap space and make a few more things happen. I know Peyton said that George Peyton, I should say, we got too many Peytons going around. He said the Broncos weren't going to be like the big spenders. They're not going to go get the big names. They're going to kind of be a little bit more bargain shopping like they did this last offseason. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos brought in 2 decently priced free agents. And my guess would be they would be on the defensive side more so than the offensive side. I'm guessing linebacker and safety would be the 2 positions. And then maybe defensive line. I don't want to take that one out of there too. There might be a guy that they really think is a great fit for this system. And you got to replace DJ Jones. He had a lot of quality snaps this last year. And he was a good player for him. They're going to miss him if they don't find somebody that can replace him. So
they have to
the
find
Broncos are
somebody
going to have to spend.
They'll have to find somebody to get more that one technique nose tackle reps. I mean, Roach isn't going to go from 400 to 900 snaps on the interior. And I don't know, maybe it's a Wazirike. We'll see. Who knows on that front. But yeah, it'll be interesting to follow, no doubt, on that front. Let's say hello to some more people trickling in here. Always great to see everybody. I see Shiloh in here, Nick and Carl. Good evening, MHH, and the community. Great to see you. Shiloh, always love that the dog picture there. You always can get after me with a good dog pic. Quentin Caldwell, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Quentin. Good to see you. Daniel Berry Sports says, yo. And then even bringing up the energy here. Adam Strange with the all caps. What's up, Broncos Maniacs? Good to see you. Chase Wellner, BTB with the fist bump. As always, Adam also saying that it's cold AF in Colorado. Well, hopefully it'll get a little bit better there very, very soon. Okay, Paul, also good evening. Great to see you. Derek says Drake Greenlaw and Javon Holland. I don't know if we already got the Greenlaw, but yeah, I feel like there's 3 premier linebackers in premier. 3, I will call them premier linebackers in free agency this year. Zach Bond is one, obviously. There's connection there because Sean Payton's team drafted him. You also have, as we saw there, Drake Greenlaw, who tore his Achilles, was it? Running onto the field in the previous Super Bowl and played like 46 snaps this year and called it a wrap. So a little risky on that one. But I mean, he's the most talented of these ones if he's healthy, but you never know. And then there's Nick Bolton as well, who we're going to get to here in just a second. Pearl's in the house. Happy belated birthday again. Dreamweaver says Nick Kendell for president. Oh man, I don't know. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Secret Service following me around in the mountains. No, thank you. Jermaine says, sup, Nick. Good to see you, Jermaine. Sup to Carl as well. Appreciate you coming in. Hope you're doing well. We got Pro 16K coming in saying, what are the odds we trade up for Genty? That's too early to say. For me, I remember somebody going, I feel like that's an argument on Twitter. It's like, oh, if he falls past the Cowboys at 12, nobody's going to trade up for him. But maybe we have to trade. No, if he falls back to the Cowboys at 12, nobody between picks 13 and 19 are going to take him. But maybe we have to trade up before 12. And it's like, can't a bunch of other teams behind us use that same logic? Like we have to trade up before the Broncos to get Genty. Like, so it's just because he falls past 12, you still might have to be aggressive and go get if he's your guy. As far as trading up for Genty, I think if he falls to 15, I have no inside sources on this, even though I cover this team as well. But the Falcons at 15 with 4 picks this season and the wave of dead cap coming from Kirk Cousins, depending on how the board falls. But if Genty's there at 15, I think the Falcons would be very eager to move back from 15 to 20 and add an additional day 2 pick. So, 20 plus 85 for 15, that's probably pretty close in the trade value chart, especially if no quarterbacks are worth being traded up for. There's a little bit of depreciation in those trade assets when no quarterbacks on the board. So I don't think I'd want to give up 50, 51, but I don't know. Odds trading up for Judy, I'd say 5%. Throwing that from nowhere, but like 5%. We'll just go with that.
Right. Well, like I said, you got to have a team willing to trade back. That's, and this is a pretty thin draft at the top of top tier talent. There's a lot of people out there talking that NFL GMs are saying there's maybe 12, 13 players that you would say are first round graded. Mm-hmm. And so maybe they're all gone by the time you get to pick 15. And like I said, the Falcons are kind of going, hey, we need more picks. We like everybody that's from 20 to 40 are pretty much graded very similarly, so we can trade back and be fine. So it takes somebody willing to trade back. And like I said, the Broncos have to have him fall that far because I don't think the Broncos are in a position where you can trade a first and a second round pick or first and future picks in the next draft. I don't think they're quite in that kind of position. Now, Sean Payton, one of the most aggressive, I guess he's not a GM, but he's one of those guys that truly, he doesn't like to wait. Mm-hmm. There's talk of last year during the draft. He was so scared that the Rams were going to take Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And like they were having to call over and over again. And some of the sources were calling the Rams coaches going, please just call Sean Payton and tell him you're not taking him. Just so he feels okay. Like he's losing sleep over this. So I'm losing sleep. And I think if Sean Payton really, really loves Genty and thinks that's the missing piece to get this offense to a top 10 level and get Bo Nix, especially to that next level as well, having that kind of talent behind him, I could see him being willing to be pretty aggressive. Now, I could also see there's a couple other players. Warren is another that I could see the Broncos being willing to trade up for. Just that kind of tight end that can move all over the place that you really like. I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos went that direction. McMillan, I know everybody keeps saying Broncos are not going wide receiver, but that guy in the slot position for Sean Payton, like he loves slot wide receivers, big slot wide receivers, I should say. And McMillan, that guy is special. I really do think he's going to be 1,000-yard every single season that he's healthy kind of guy. He's going to have that 100 catches. He's not going to have the make 5 guys miss and go score a touchdown kind of guy. But he's got consistent hands. He's big. He's fluid for as big as he is. For 6'5", that guy moves in and out of his breaks. He does great with his nuances and, speeding up, slowing down, all that kind of stuff. So if he makes it past 12, I can see the Broncos going, let's go get him.
Yeah, he's probably one of the only first round graded wide receivers in this class. He's probably the only one that's also an X, right? I think he can do the power slot stuff as well, but a lot of that, I just have a hard time seeing him fall out of the top 10 unless he runs really poor. But with Daniel Jeremiah, again, referencing his mock, he had him going 19. And if he fell down that far, I mean, I'm interested for sure. I know that we have conversation in here from BK saying our wide receiver core is actually good. Don't understand all the hate. I don't think anything that I saw from Franklin last year or Vele would keep me from adding to the room. And you only have 1 year left of control left of Cortland Sutton. And he's going to be third contract, going to be pretty darn expensive as well, even at his age. So, you need to think about some off-ramp strategies there for a position like wide receiver, which is the third highest paid position in football. And that there's a reason for that. It's because the impact of those special guys. Patrick coming in here. Aloha, BTB. Aloha to you, Patrick. Appreciate you coming in. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. We got Glenn coming in and says, good afternoon, everybody. Position of need is going to slide if we remain at 20. Offers will come to move back. Don't sleep on Peyton and Peyton moving up either. We'll see. The draft is very fluid. Sean Payton discussed the 2011 draft on the Kay Adams show, which I appreciated because he was all set to take Mark Ingram. That's the right Ingram. Yep, not Melvin, but Mark Ingram there at pick 24. And then a defensive lineman that they loved in Cam Jordan fell to them. And they're like, we got to take the defensive lineman. He's just too good. And then they traded back up into the first round, 4 picks later, to get Mark Ingram. So again, you never know. Could go multiple ways, especially when you're picking at pick 20 and your quarterback position is filled. You have a lot of flexibility, and that's a good thing. I don't really love it makes a lot of sense. I don't love all the monotonous of the mock drafts right now with, Colson Loveland every single time at 20. Don't get me wrong. That pick makes a load of sense for Denver. I don't love Loveland. I think he's good though. But again, there should be some variety with all of that. We got Gene coming in and says, my guys, hope your night is great. Broncos need to draft a wide receiver in any round. Tight end, running back, also full offensive draft. We'll see how free agency goes first as well. The one thing I'll push back on is not only are you going to replace what'd you mention? 3 of the 4 linebackers need to be replaced. Alex Singleton's going to be 30, 31 years old coming off an ACL with his last year of his contract. So adding a developmental linebacker, because we haven't seen enough from Drew Sanders yet, it has to be on the table. And the defensive line as well. You're losing all 4 of your top snap getters in the next 2 off seasons. 1 this season, 3 next year. So I don't think it can be all offense in the draft.
I mean, if you sign guys to long-term contracts, let's say Zach Allen gets an extension. Mm-hmm. So that makes you feel a little bit better about the defensive line. Maybe Roach as well gets an extension. So you're not having to worry about those guys as much. You go sign somebody to replace DJ Jones. I don't think you can pay Allen, Roach, and John Franklin Myers.
Probably not.
Just that's a lot of money going right into your defensive line with the kind of years that they just had. And so I think you can maybe pay 2 of them, and Roach won't cost a ton. And maybe you're just extending an extra year kind of thing to help out with it. But I still, like you said, you got to add somebody, and this is a really good defensive line draft. So to not take advantage of that, I think would be a huge mistake. I get being offensive heavy, but I still think there need to be a defensive pick or 2 to start getting this defense young, start rebuilding it, because, I mean, defense, it doesn't take much to go from a top 5 defense to a bottom 5 defense in the NFL. Couple injuries, couple guys leaving. We're going to talk about a guy, Nick Bolton. How's that going to change the Chiefs defense? Chris Jones is getting a little bit older. They're going to have to start doing some retooling to that defense. It's been great for all these years. So, like I said, defense really changes more and more from year to year. Offense, because you've got a quarterback. Usually, if you have a quarterback, you're going to have pretty consistent from year in, year out.
Yeah, a little bit more stable for sure.
Yeah.
So, safety, linebacker, defensive line, tight end, running back. Those are probably the big ones. Probably depth at cornerback, wide receiver as well. But got to let the draft come to you. Again, like one thing. This year we have Riley Moss step up. Marvin Mims starts to come on at the end of the year. That's at the end of their second year in the NFL, right? So you're not necessarily outside, especially outside the top 10. You're not drafting this 2025 class for the 2025 results. Otherwise, you're in trouble. It's more about like, what are your needs going to be 2026, 2027? And can you fill those in, especially the further you get from the first overall pick? So really, you can't be too hyper-focused. Like if we don't draft a tight end at pick 85, our tight end's going to be bad. Guess what? If you take a tight end at 85, it's still probably not going to be very good this season. You're hoping that it's filled in by 2026, 2027 with that guy developing. So again, there's the big picture with all these guys, and kind of big picture also. We want to talk about Von Miller. Sounds like he might be a cap casualty for the Buffalo Bills. He had a pretty darn good end of the season. It was almost a non-factor in that the Chiefs game, unfortunately, which is unfortunate when you see how bad the Chiefs offensive line got beat up versus the versus the Eagles. That was more the interior guys setting the table, though. But I digress. Von Miller might hit the market. Carl, would you be interested?
I would be. I mean, there's the nostalgia of it, of a guy that, I mean, Super Bowl 50 MVP, one of the best defensive players, just best Broncos to ever lace him up on the field. Mm-hmm. And he's still producing. That's the big thing for me. Is this a guy? I can't have it just be nostalgia. Can he actually help this team? And his snaps were way down, but they were quality snaps. I think he ended up finishing top 10 in percentage of pass rush wins. If you take out all the guys that had less than 20% of the snaps for the season, kind of thing. So, I mean, he can still get after the quarterback. I would love to be able to see him train up like a guy like Nick Benito, teaching him, hey, because Von Miller was a little bit on the smaller side for an edge guy. But he was so good at understanding leverage, understanding when to try to attack, how to attack the run game. He just was so smart that he became a good run defender on top of being an elite pass rusher. So I think there's some things he could teach Nick Benito. Jonah Ellis is another one that I'd love to see him get a chance to work with him and teach him, and kind of, DeMarcus Ware, when he came here to Denver, like, he really took Von Miller to that next level. Like, Von Miller was great, but just really taught him how to be more of a leader, to really become the team. And now Von Miller has that chance to be that next guy. So I wouldn't mind it. Contract obviously plays a big part in it. If he's still wanting top tier money, no. If he's wanting, I don't know, $5 million a year, I could probably get on board with something like that.
I think he'd probably want more than that at the end of the day. But the issue is that, like, with these longer contracts, you can kind of finagle them, manipulate them where, down the line they balloon, but then you can, add void years or whatever, or bonuses, or negotiate them. Von Miller, 1 year, $10 million. There's no getting around it, right? That's against the cap, and there's a 30-year cap space right there. And then it comes down to just, where are the reps? It would make, if Denver traded Browning, that was reality. But let's say they didn't pay Cooper, and you had an obvious edge void on this team, and it was a very young room as well. Yes, makes a load of sense. But right now it's pretty packed room. You have Tillman, who had a really good season for the Broncos once they cleared up some space with Browning moving. I mean, he was really good for a fourth edge rusher. I was really impressed. Jonah Ellis, still one of the youngest players in the entire NFL last season. I think like the 7th youngest player, was a AP all-rookie, all-pro or whatever as well. So he had pretty good season, some good flashes there. And then you got Benito and Cooper, who you just paid. So I just wonder if there's actually immediate space for those guys. Now, let's say, again, like hypothetically, I wouldn't do this, but let's say you approach like Benito, like, we'll pay you $17 million a year for 4 years, take it or leave it. And he's like, I'm going to get 25 on the open market if I have another year like this. All right, we're going to trade you out for a 2nd and a 4th round pick. Thank you so much. We're not on the market of paying that. Then you open a spot. But I don't know if, like, with how, especially bringing on Von Miller, like, who's playing the special teams reps and everything, if there's actually a pathway to playing time on this roster. It's pretty crowded without, cutting off some of that young depth that you have as well. So I don't know. He's going to be 36, 37 years old, had a decent season towards the end, missed some time as well with the injury. But he had a good game against Denver, tied for the second most pressures he had this season with 5 in a game, including 4 hurries, which was tied for a season high for him. But again, I'm lukewarm on it. I'm not against it because I love Von Miller, a heck of a player. Still got some designated pass rusher juice, but it's crowded in the room right now.
Yeah. Like I said, if it does come down to Benito, like I said, maybe not being willing to take a team-friendly deal.
I wouldn't even call it team-friendly. It's just like, how do they value you? Do they value one of the top 5 pass rushers in football, or do they value in the top 20 with some deficiencies in your edge setting ability? In the run defense, which he's gotten so much better at. He's a good player. He should get every dollar that he can. but I don't fault Denver also saying, I want to see it again this season.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. He'd be one of those guys. I'm not paying this offseason. Let's say 8 weeks in and he's got himself 8 sacks. And like I said, he's holding up in the run game. Yeah. Then I'd be like, okay, you're showing you're here for the long haul. Like you're going to be a great pass rusher moving forward. And it's not just sack numbers, but like you're still continually getting pressure at the rate that you're winning against some double teams, kind of like you were this last year. The season before, I felt like his sack numbers were inflated just because a lot of it was schemed up blitzes. He's getting wide open lanes to rush. He's not even getting blocked on about half of them. This past year, he was actually like really winning against tackles. And Von Miller, like I said, it just really comes down to contract. And like I said, just where are you finding the snaps? Are you deciding Tillman isn't for your future? I'd have a tough time with that because he is a really nice, like you said, 4th pass rusher. He's cheap. It's hard to let that go. And he's big. Like he's got some size, so he can really hold up in the run game for you. He's different than your other pass rushers or edge guys. So It's really nice when you want to go to some of those bigger packages, you can put him on the field and him be that 280-pound guy, 290-pound guy. We've talked, I think last week, a little bit about Stewart in this draft. He's kind of one of those hybrid guys that can kind of move around the line for you because he's got that size. I kind of like those guys because, you look at some of these teams like Philly. If you're going to stop some of these big offensive lines and that are trying to just run you over, you need some big guys up front too. And right now the Broncos, I would say, are a little bit small on the edge.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely small on the edge and have some – if there's like a superstar, a guy that you grade falling to the edge, then you kind of just deal with it. But that's more like long-term team building picture versus Von Miller, which is a little bit more short-term. I'm not against it. I'm just like, I'm not head over heels with it. William James Baker says, good morning, guys. Where are you coming from, William, for the good morning? Says, how's it going? Guys, could you fill me in on the top 3 free agent players right now who Denver should prioritize to go get? Well, I think safety, linebacker are probably the big 2 spots here. And that's one of the positions that ESPN, Matt Bowens, did a top 50 list, and he linked a running back to the other one. Not a good running back free agency crop, but he does have the Broncos walking away with the 3rd best linebacker in the group this season, as he ranked it, 23rd best player in free agency this season. Chiefs linebacker Nick Bolton. He writes, Bolton would be a big upgrade for Vance Joseph's defense in Denver. Bolton fits with the Broncos as a downhill thumper against the run. He had 11 tackles for loss last season. In coverage, Bolton lacks elite second-level range, but he does have 4 career interceptions. So I really like Bolton. Only 24 years old. Sideline to sideline sweeper type. Again, is he going to confuse anybody for Fred Warner or one of the most elite athletes at linebacker in the NFL? No, he's not. But again, Singleton's old, and Bolton's just does not miss many tackles. He's always in the right spot. I think there's just so much to be said about maybe being in the right spot at the right time, playing with good technique at that position.
Well, and another part of his game that I love is he is great at sniffing out screenplays.
Mm-hmm.
He is so smart on the field, and the Broncos were not great in coverage, especially against a running back. Those screenplays got him a lot of times. Part of that is the Broncos were very aggressive. And so they got themselves out of position on a few plays, but also just having a linebacker that can really, like I said, sniff that out, understand where they're supposed to be. Last year, especially when Singleton went down, the Broncos linebackers were very up and down of where they're supposed to be. There's a lot of plays where they were out of position, run plays where they were overrunning it and giving up easy run lanes, cutback lanes, whatever you want to call them. Just being a step late to where they needed to be. Bolton won't do that to you.
No.
He's going to be smart. He's going to be right there where you need him. And like I said, he's a very sound tackler. And, this last, I think the Bills game for me, it was just so hard to watch the linebackers in that one. It wasn't just them, but they were just getting pushed back 6-7 yards by the offensive line. And even the running backs were kind of running him over and pushing him back for another 4 or 5 yards. You add Bolton, that changes it. And he's still young. He's still growing as a player. His best years are still ahead of him, and taking him away from a rival kind of helps too, where you improve your defense while hurting their defense. So I would love that one. I mean, I do like Zach Bond but it's a lot more risk. He had a great season, but he might have had the easiest job of any linebacker in football, having that great defensive line in front of him, great players surrounding him in the secondary. How does he do elsewhere? How does he do outside that system? We don't really know yet. Where Bolton, I know he's a plug and play. He's going to be fine wherever he goes.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. And also he's been durable as well. So unlike Drake, Greenlaw is coming off that big injury, and Zach Bond, who's let's call it what it is, a one-year wonder, playing behind the best defensive front in football this past season. I think Bolton, maybe he doesn't have the ceiling of those other guys, but he certainly has the highest floor of all of them. Still only 24 years old. Also, the instincts seem to be very good there. He's just been a really solid player for them. So Bolton's great. I did want to give a shout out to Ernest Jones at linebacker, and talked about him earlier. Sherwood. Denver's going to walk away with one of those guys. I'm pretty confident about that. I think linebacker, I think it was Mike Kliss a month ago, said in free agency, if there's one position I would bet the Broncos make a big signing in this season, if any, it's linebacker. So that stands out to me. Safety is the other one. It sounds like they're looking to dig in because it's also a decent safety group. A lot of people already mentioned, of course, Trevon Holland. He's way up here for one of the top. It's the 12th best free agent according to ESPN. The Broncos don't get him. Another really good safety, only 24 years old, been on a surprisingly solid Raiders defense. That wasn't their issue so much this season, but Trevon Moehrig, safety, pretty good a downhill guy as well. He stands out. I'd really like Moehrig. You got Talana Hafanga, who's had some injuries. He stands out as well. Justin Reed is somebody who makes a lot of sense at safety. So the Denver, I wouldn't be surprised if they also brought in, maybe go back-to-back Chiefs there and really, pick apart that Chiefs defense, just like how we did with Neil Smith back in the day. But the next guy they have the Broncos going here is running back, 33 overall, which I thought was pretty shocking, but running back Aaron Jones. So running back out there, not a good running back class. I think Jones might be the highest rated running back. He says Jones has the traits that Denver coach Sean Payton wants on a running back. He's a slasher in the run game and has dual threat traits to catch the ball out of the backfield and produce on screens. Javonte Williams is a free agent, and the Broncos need a true running back one to take this offense to the next level. I don't know if per se Aaron Jones is a no doubt running back one, 30 years old, but he makes it so that way. Let's say for some reason you go into the draft and a defensive tackle, let's say Tyler Warren falls to you at 20. Oh man, okay, no Genty, whatever. Or Hampton gone, Henderson gone, whatever. You kick the can again. Second round, oh, defensive tackle I love there. Okay, well maybe third round. Well, now there's a linebacker I absolutely love there. So now you're 3 rounds in. It's like, I don't have a running back. Aaron Jones raises the floor where you're not in a desperate situation where you have to trade up for a running back or walk away with one of your top 100 picks. You can get a serviceable player round 4, round 5, round 6 in this draft at running back as well to pair with Aaron Jones. Now, does it solve the room long term? No. Is it what I feel great about the running back room? We talk about it on here. I think it's the biggest need on this team immediately. No, but again, you just really raise the floor there, and I don't totally hate it. He's not my running back of choice this cycle. I really would like the Broncos to sign Ty Johnson, running back from Buffalo, who's one of the best pass catching backs in football. But it makes a lot of sense for the Broncos to, at least, depending on the contract, it makes sense for Aaron Jones to come in.
Yeah, I mean, I had him on my fantasy team this year, and he dominated. He was a touchdown machine. The Packers were legendary for pass catcher getting down to the 1 yard line, and then Aaron Jones go score a touchdown. I think there's a couple games where he had 3 touchdowns, and he might only have 50 yards rushing, but hey, you got the 3 touchdowns, so it worked out pretty well for me. I like him, but like I said, that 30 years old, a lot of carries on him, so it's not like he has a ton of tread left, but he has been pretty durable so far in his career. He's not special in the sense of, like I said, you get him in the open field, he's going to make 3-4 guys miss. he's going to pick up the yards that you expect, which is better than what the Broncos have had. So, like I said, it raises the floor of the room, but I'm not sure it makes the group special.
Yeah.
And so you're still hoping, like you said, first, second, third round, you're finding one of those guys that you hope can become that next special running back here in Denver. Because we've had quite a few. It's just been a little while since we've had one. And so this could be that draft where you find that next great running back. And I like I said, I don't want to be forced to pick one. So Aaron Jones makes it where you can be looking at other positions and be okay with it. But it just would be hard to pass clear till the 5th round for running back when you're going, okay, there's so many good ones that you really can see being high quality starters in the NFL.
Yeah, ideally you never go into the draft unless you have the first overall pick or you have multiple players at the same position that you're really happy with. You never want to go into the draft saying, if I have to take position X. It's a bad process. You're probably going to make a long-term or a decision that in the long term looks poor. So again, running back, the way it's stacked, I'd be pretty shocked if Denver didn't walk away with one in the top 4 rounds, especially with how Sean Payton is with his, trigger finger. If he sees them coming off the board, I wouldn't be surprised at all if, like, let's say Denver takes the best player available that's not a running back at pick 20, and then they trade up to pick 35 to go up for Henderson, Hampton, who knows, something like that. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Denver's traded up 3 times in the last 2 drafts for round 2, round 3, for second pick in round 4 players. So certainly on the table. And again, Aaron Jones, it's going to depend on the contract. You're talking about a 30-year-old running back. Didn't play behind a good offensive line last year with the Vikings, but played with a really good system. Like, how many heavy boxes did he actually see with Jefferson? Probably not many. So again, it's not a horrible situation out there. I wouldn't be against it. I don't think he's going to get a lot, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And guys, we're going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon. I do see some people talking about, what about Estime? He was okay. Here's the deal. Running back is one of those few positions you should be expecting something your rookie season from them. Like they should be showing quite a bit. You don't see a lot of running backs who are terrible as rookies become great second, third, fourth, fifth year of their NFL career. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it really is a very translatable position from college to the NFL. They either have the vision or they don't. They either get the system or they don't. And so Estime, he was okay, but I can't ever see him being your true number 1 running back. He had the fumbling issues early in the season. He got that corrected a little bit, but playoff game to me is the biggest indicator of how the Broncos feel about Estime. Sean Payton talked about it. We got to get this guy carries. And then you get to the playoff game and he doesn't even get a suit up for the game. So that should show you their confidence in him right now.
I mean, to be fair to Estime, 5th round pick, right? You're talking about a 5th round pick and not a very excellent running back class last season. Was still only 20 years old and looked good in limited action. But again, the healthy scratch stuff, I just don't think they trust him in pass protection or knowing the complete playbook. And when you do that, I say it on this show over and over again, but it's such an important point. Defensive coordinators now, with their simulated pressures and everything that they can do, can break pass protection rules. They know the rules, and they can set up their defensive linemen and rush guys where they're going to get a free rusher, especially if you have a fish. We'll call him a stinky fish at pass protection as a running back. So if they don't trust you to be able to pick up a free rusher, or you're not so dynamic that you're essentially a wide receiver out of the backfield, there's like only 5 of those guys in the entire league, you're not going to get playing time. You're just not going to get playing time. The quarterback's too important. You got to protect that guy. So Estime has the body type to be a good pass protector. It just did not seem like they trust him there. And that's on top of ball security issues. I mean, his fumble rate was unbelievable. Didn't trust him. So it's a big offseason. We're not counting him out by any means, but he's going to have to come in and compete without a doubt. And that's how it should be when you're a 5th round pick who performed like he did in 2024. Just is what it is. I mean, I don't really have much sentimental attachment to these players. It's about winning at the end of the day. And I think about it more like a good football college program. You bring in a guy and you tell them to their face, we love you. I'm going to be recruiting somebody this very next season that is going to be trying to come take your job. Compete. No love lost. If you're the better guy, go do it. But it just is what it is. That's a healthy program, a competition in there. Keep investing in resources, just a churn of talent, because NFL careers are not long. There's no guarantees. So
Agreed.
Any final thoughts there? I've got that big list
No.
there. I mean, I'd be happy with both those guys. I would like to see another safety in there as well to compete with Locke, a nose tackle. DJ Jones did not make the top 50. I looked. I think he probably is going to be one of the top 50 paid at the end of the day. But we'll see. The interior defensive line market's going to be weird. I think there could be a lot of cap casualties. It's a really deep draft class as well at defensive tackle. So who knows? And that's the thing too about this list. Half these guys, even if they didn't get the tag, not half, but like 15% are going to get signed. There's going to be another 20% more that make the list after the cut. So very fluid situation. A lot of fun to think about and talk about still.
Yeah, I saw earlier in the chat, Bengals did tag Higgins.
Yep.
So he's maybe, it's not that he's off the market. It's just you got to trade for him now. And and we got Todd coming in here last minute with some supers for us saying, please draft 2 running backs and 2 tight ends. Who do you get? Well, I mean, that's using up quite a bit of your draft capital to get those players. I mean, and it's so hard to know. Like, does that mean you're taking a running back first round and then say 5th round, tight end second round, and then 6th round? Just kind of, I don't know. And so much of the draft profile is unknown right now for a lot of these players. Like we can watch all the games and kind of get a good idea on them. But you still got the combine. You still got interviews that are going to go on. Some of these guys are going to get medical red flags. They're going to drop them or raise them, all those kind of things. Well, medical red flags not going to raise you. But so there's still a lot to factor in of where all these guys are going. So you watch all the mock drafts right now. Some of those players that are going top 20 might be going 5th round here in a month. Mm-hmm. Just that's how quickly things can change. So I can't really say who's going to be available and where the Broncos are going to take him. If it's the first round for a running back, it's going to be Genty. If it's tight end, it's going to be Warren or Loveland, I would guess. That just kind of seems to be I know Herrera's been getting some run as a first round tight end, but as of right now, I'd say he's probably 2nd round kind of guy.
Yeah, so I'll pick 2, just running it through a mock draft in my head here real quick. We'll have Genty go pick 20. Then in the 3rd round, we'll get Gunnar Helm. So Genty, running back, Boise State. 3rd round, we'll get Gunnar Helm, Texas, tight end. And then we'll go running back and tight end in the 6th round as well. We'll go Alfred Blue, running back from Texas. A little bit of your not Wildcat, hopefully Joker type, good pass catcher. And we'll also pair that with, we'll go Dipri, the big, huge, massive tight end from Alabama, who's essentially another offensive lineman. So why not? I don't know. But thank you so much for the super chat, Todd. We also got Michael, last one here as we wrap it up. Great show tonight, Nick and Carl, on building the Broncos. Go Bo Broncos. Go Michael. Go all you guys. Thanks again, Todd, coming in here, hanging out with us. Super chat. Papa Bear, great to see you. Gary Palmer, the generous $9.99. BK, of course, as well. Michael Ronque a couple times. You guys are great. Shout outs to Underdog. Use that code MHuddle. And also make sure you guys are following Carl and I on Twitter. Carl's at Carl Dumler MHH. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also make sure you guys are following us over at Mile High Huddle. If you guys haven't done so yet, we're over at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, please subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Make sure you guys go check out the written content, everything over at Mile High Huddle as well. Wrote about that stuff today, that's talking point. And yeah, this all coming out, man. It's a busy, fun time of year, all the team building stuff. So appreciate everyone. You guys have a great rest of your night. Any final thoughts, Carl?
No, it's going to be a fun ride. We got Combine, like I said, coming up here real quick. Free agency's less than a month away. Mm-hmm. So the next few months going to be a whirlwind. I'm ready for it. I cannot wait to see how the Broncos change their roster. I had somebody ask today, how are the Broncos going to do in this upcoming season? There's still so much to figure out. I need to see what happens in our division, what the Broncos do in all these places. So like I said, a lot to happen. We're going to be here for all of it. Very excited to run this with you guys. So make sure you're checking in every single day with Mile High Huddle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Jason says LaQuint Allen from Syracuse in the 6th. I thought about LaQuint Allen in the 3rd round. I don't know if he's making it to the 6th. So we'll see. I mean, fun time of year. Would love him in the 6th. I think you might have to use the 3rd round pick on him, though. But appreciate everyone. Continue to choose kindness, compassion. I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Have a good one. Go Broncos.